And hey there, hi there, ho there, hello there, and a gracious good Saturday morning to you. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. Certainly some very exciting things that happened last night down at the KFCM Centers. The Cards started their NCAA quest to take the title with a resounding win over the Great Danes, as one of our commenters said. They ran the Danes back across the bridge toward New York, and certainly well done. Call them whatever you want, Albany, Albany, New Albany. It doesn't matter. They're going home. We've got a good show lined up for you. A lot of basketball top ahead of you. We'll try to get a little bit into a little softball and lacrosse as time allows, but certainly basketball on several different fronts is the big order of the day. We'll also call on our bracket czar, Jared Anderson, to give us a complete and full description of the Cardinal Couple NCAA Pick'em contest. But and he and I once even agreed on the numbers. We did our own independent audits of the brackets and came up with the same thing. So that's pretty good. But you all are really stupid, so it wasn't hard to figure it. No, I'm kidding.
It does seem like it's been chaos in the brackets.
Yeah, yeah, we don't even have anybody at 15-1, so it's kind of. But some upsets involved. But like we do at the start of the show, we like to kind of catch up with the guys, and Jeff and I were discussing the emergency alert system pre-broadcast as last night. At least in our area, some people may have been awoken or heard the EAS sirens going off in your local area as we were in the line for a possible tornado warning and never did touch down that I know of. But Jeff, that was some pretty interesting stuff last night, huh?
I'm going to have to take your word for it. I managed to sleep through it all, which, is kind of nice in that I got a good night's sleep. I feel really good this morning, but also, I need to have something to wake me up for, a tornado warning going directly over my house. So I'll be working on that. So, yeah.
Never get that as an alarm tone.
Yeah.
Slip right through it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I got back from the basketball game and tried to watch some of the softball game on replay, and got into, I think it was about the fourth inning, and Georgia Tech was up 6-0, and I was like propping my eyelids up and trying to watch it. And I'm like, I'm not going to go to sleep. I know we win it. I just kind of wanted to see it because it was an exciting end. But yeah, it was. I conked out, and I was like, storms coming through. I don't know, nothing. Sirens going off. I slept through every bit of it.
I had actually fallen asleep during the Iowa State women's game I was watching, and it was a good game too. And I kind of hated to fall asleep on it, but I did. And then I'm laying there, and all of a sudden, the sirens start going off and everything. And my first thought, I bolt out of bed, and I'm like, "Oh my God, Putin's dropped the big one on us! Oh my God!" But then Sony was in the other room and said, "There's a tornado warning out, and it's headed for Fern Creek." I'm like, well, that's just wonderful. Fortunately, nothing developed, so we were happy there. Jared Anderson, a busy man yesterday, running around taking photography pictures of about everything he could find. I got a great one of me and Sonia and our good friend Rochelle. So good work on that, Jared. A busy day for you today?
Yeah, as soon as we hop off air, I'm going to head down to baseball if they start at 1 and see if they can duplicate what they did against number 1 Notre Dame yesterday. And from there, head down to softball at 4 o'clock and see if they can duplicate their offense as well from yesterday with another grand slam and the 6th grand slam of the season for the Cards. Just truly remarkable what that offense is doing. And then off to basketball again tomorrow night. I'm ready to get back down to the Yum Center already, and I haven't been gone for more than 12 hours, it feels like.
For sure. It's a very electric environment down there and a lot of fun. Case was even mentioning that during lunch breaks at work and stuff like that, he saw a lot of fans that were attending the Yum Center kind of strolling around the downtown area. Case.
Yeah, it was nice to see. Always cool hosting events like this, especially on a national stage, to see people travel and get the downtown experience. It's nice that a lot of restaurants have opened back up for lunch. A lot were closed during the pandemic, and some have only opened really recently. So nice to do that. I think that they put a pause on the road work when they realized how dumb it was to be trying to do it at that time, repaving Main Street. So um, it was nice. It was good to see a bunch of fans out and about, a bunch of Nebraska and Gonzaga shirts, and I even wore a retro Louisville starter jacket that I've got uh, to work yesterday.
I've got one of those in the closet somewhere as well. And
I just chuckled at the kid walking in front of me that had the UofL ball cap on with a St. Peter's T-shirt. Like, all right. Sometimes I really love this state.
Jeff, let's just be kind. There are a lot of people in this state that are hurting right now.
Yeah. It was clearly a
Calipari,
brand new T-shirt too. It was great.
the mighty Calipari cats fell down. There have been some great GIFs out there on the internet too about that. So fun, but of course we sympathize with our Kentucky fans who will not get to watch anymore, right? For about 5 seconds, and we'll move right on to something else. One of the great deals that I was fortunate enough last night to be sitting next to the NCAA director of special events. Fascinating young man by the name of John that I spent a lot of time talking to during the game. And I asked him, I said, so why is it UAlbany? He goes, well, one of the things that I found out is that the players and the coaches and the people in the athletic department like the sound of UConn, UMass, so they went with UAlbany. And I said, but they shorten those. Yeah. So could they go like you all?
Yeah.
He gave me this kind of funny look, and he's like no. He says, I said, have you been to New Albany yet? He goes, no, I haven't seen New Albany. And so, anyway, great guy to talk to though, and had a lot of fun with him. But
I mean, the minor league baseball team in Florence, Kentucky, is called the Florence Yalls. So
which goes right in line with the old water tower they used to have there.
Right, exactly. That's what it's for. Yeah, it's great, and it's still there. It's not used to.
I didn't know if they had painted over there with something
else. Still
I haven't been up that way in a while.
Yeah,
all fun and good and great stuff. So we've caught up on everybody here. So let's go ahead and move it on over to Case for a little scheduling and Twitter information, sir.
Yeah, so the schedule continues to be pretty long. Like we mentioned last week, track had a very short reprieve between the championships and starting their outdoor season. They are at the Tiger Classic, hosted by Auburn. That's all day. Rowing is hosting the Cardinal Invitational at Oak Ridge in Tennessee. Swimming is in the final day of the NCAA championships, currently sitting in 8th place with a good chance to move up. Not likely that they'll make it to the top 5, but a top 6 or 7 finish would be really nice for them. Baseball, like Jared mentioned, taking on Notre Dame, top ranked team in the land. That is at 1 p.m. Louisville leads that series 1-0. That one's at home. Softball is also at home. They beat Georgia Tech last night. They'll take on the Yellow Jackets in the second game of that series at 4 today. Rowing's Oak Ridge Invitational continues tomorrow. And the softball series with Georgia Tech wraps up with that third game scheduled for noon. Also at noon is men's tennis taking on Florida State in the Bass Rudd Center. Baseball takes on Notre Dame at 1 p.m. tomorrow as well. And then women's basketball in the round of 32. The last game they'll play in the Yum Center this season is versus Gonzaga at 7 p.m. tomorrow. That was announced late last night for that time. And if you're watching at home, having ESPN on all day, that's going to be a fun slate. Great to see that they are going with the all women's basketball slate on Sunday on ESPN. Obviously, ESPN owns the rights for the women's, but still cool that they're going to keep it on the linear main channel like that.
To chip in with that real quick, it's also good if you're out traveling because you can download the ESPN app and watch any of those women's games as well from anywhere.
Yes.
Yep. Monday is a rare off day. Tuesday, baseball takes on Lipscomb in their midweek game at 6 p.m. No midweek game for softball this season. or this week. Sorry, oddly, swimming men's team takes on the NCAA championships. That's starting Wednesday and going through Saturday, just as the women's did this weekend. Track heads to Raleigh, North Carolina for the Raleigh Relays, and it's actually a split team weekend as they will also go to Austin for the Texas Relays. Both of those events continue through Saturday. Starting on Friday, women's golf heads to the Liz Murphy Collegiate Classic as they do most years. That one's in Athens, Georgia. Baseball heads up to Brighton, Massachusetts to take on Boston College. It's always so funny that the cities in Massachusetts are so small and there are so many universities that you end up with a school like Boston College having different complexes in actual different locations.
Mm.
That one starts at 4 p.m. on Friday evening. Women's tennis hosts Virginia starting at 4 as well. Men's tennis heads to North Carolina to take on the Tar Heels, also at 4. So that's a busy, interesting time slot on a Friday. Softball heads to Clemson to take on the Tigers in a weekend series. That one starts at 6 p.m. on Friday. That'll get us through the scheduling for this week. Next week, Virginia lacrosse hosts Virginia starting at noon, so that one will be a interesting time that we'll have to balance, I'm sure. As for Twitter accounts, as always, you can keep up with events like rowing, track, swimming on their Twitter accounts. The social media teams and comms teams do a great job for those sports. You can follow those on the right side of the Cardinal Couple website. I tweet is at best case scenario, BST case scenario. Paulie is at Cardinal Couple. Jeff is at Card Couple Radio and at Jeff McAdams. Jared is at Mr. Anderson Jared. And then Daryl, though Paulie gave her crap for it last week, is at Daryl Faust 4.
For what?
For what?
Unfortunately, Daryl not with us today. She had a prior commitment she had to take care of, though, but wrote up a nice article kind of prepping us for the game last night, and in case with another excellent article at Cardinal Couple today, recapping the game, plus getting a little softball and swimming in there as well. So I urge you and I recommend you to go to the Cardinal Couple website to check up on the stuff we're putting out there every day. Always good information about the UofL women's athletics, and certainly we enjoy our readers, we enjoy our comments, and invite more of you to jump on in there and be a part of the Cardinal Couple family, as it were. So you might even see Jeff write something every once in a while. You never know about him.
Like every Sunday.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you never comment, you know?
Oh. Yeah. Jumped on
He-
occasion.
He commented the other day with his bracket.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that,
And I do occasionally comment. It's just I work throughout the day, so it's the article may not be up by the time I kind of started to work, and then by the time the end of the day after work is over, all the comment discussions have kind of already happened. So I wish I had a better opportunity to get more engaged with it, but it's a little tough.
I need you to step your comment game up. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, okay. Is that coming along with the pay raise?
Otherwise, I'm going to have to get Jeff Walls and his administrative capabilities to give you a call.
Right.
Kind
Just
of
go like a collegiate discussion board where they just say, I agree to get their comment in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that. That'd be fine. So certainly follow us on Twitter as well, as we get a lot of great stuff out there. Let's get on into the meat and bones of the show here, and we will start it out with the University of Louisville women's basketball effort last night against the UAlbany Great Danes. The Cards win this one 83-51. Cards using a very strong second quarter to outscore Albany 29-13. Kind of played them to a little bit of a standstill in the second half, only winning at 35-31 point wise, but like I mentioned, held Albany to 51 points. 3 stats that stuck out huge to me in this case is that the Cards forced the Great Danes into 26 turnovers. Louisville had 18 steals, and they won the points in the paint battle 44-24.
Yeah, it was surprising. I wrote about in the Fred report how that points in the paint battle really laid bare the size advantage and kind of cutting ability advantage that Louisville was hosting in this game, but then it really didn't bear out in the rebounding battle. But defensively, I mean, 26 turnovers and 18 steals. That's pretty dang on good. You add in 4 blocks, none by Louisville bigs, all by quote unquote guards because they call Emily a guard, really a forward, I think. But yeah, you add 4 steals to that, or 4 blocks to those 18 steals, and Albany just couldn't really get anything going offensively because Louisville was able to do so much on the defensive end.
And Jared, you take a look at Emily's line. I mean, she had 17 points. And I think Walsh reinserted her late in the game so she could join the 1,000-point club during that game. But take a look at this. She was 6 for 11 from the floor, 5 for 5 for free throws, solid 7 rebounds. Here's where it gets interesting: 7 steals, 2 blocks. 7 steals. I mean, golly, I can't remember the last time I've seen a card with that many steals.
Angel.
Maybe, yeah, but that's going
Yeah.
back a ways, Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Angel. I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping in. You were kind of aiming towards Jared there, but I mean, Angel had a few triple doubles that were points, steals, and rebounds, which is a little bit unusual. But yeah, and Emily got close to that, 17, 7, and 7 in those categories. So, yeah.
7 steals. Oof.
Yeah.
She's just the difference maker on this team, and you see it when she comes out and goes in, and just the pace of the game and how things go for the Cards. And there was a little bit of I felt like we had an offensive slump for a couple minutes there, and as soon as we put Emily back in the game, she scores within a few seconds and kind of reignites that offense. And then when you get back on defense and just what she's able to do, and I think a lot of her defensive skills and talent is just pure instinct. I mean, she's not one you have to coach a ton on defense because she already just kind of goes where she needs to go and understands where the pass is going. And that's why she's so disruptive and gets all those steals, especially with those long arms, and then being able to kind of push the tempo down court. So I think one of the keys to a big run in this tournament for the Cards is the performance of Emily Inkster down the stretch.
She was definitely feeling it last night. And, just something that I kind of noticed here, and you can back me up on this or dispute it if you want, but we were kind of toying with Albany there a little bit in the second quarter, and then Walsh made a move. He pulled out Olivia Cochran, and he decided to go small. And we took off and simply just pinned them back to the wall.
Yeah, I can't really dispute that. I didn't particularly notice it, but I'll buy that as an analysis. But I'm gonna pull a little bit of a Jeff Walls here and go off on my own topic. We were talking about steals. Emily Inkster was 7. The next highest count was 3, and that was for Haley Van Lith. And call this out, Peyton Verhulst had 3 steals in that. She only played 18 minutes. She did pretty well in that time. So good to see that from the 2 freshmen coming in there.
And PV was feeling it on the defensive side of things. And her shots, oh my gosh, around the rim.
Oh, she had incredible shot selection and rattling in and out, hitting everybody at the rim, and then popping back out. So it had to be frustrating.
I know she had to be frustrated and probably just thought to herself, okay, the rims are softened up when both Marissa Russell and Romani Parker come in, both take threes and both hit threes in the last 2 minutes of the game. She's like, somebody up there doesn't like me. What's going on here? Certainly, I think, Jared, you could probably say it was a good effort by any Card that touched the court last night and got into the game, and it was good to see Narika Kono get 11 solid minutes in there, and I think that defensively she was doing some good things as well.
Absolutely, and the cheer that you got from that arena when she was able to step foot on the court and that standing ovation just shows you how much this fan base cares about the players and this team. And Enrica, first time stepping on the court in a live action game in several months. And she really didn't look all that uncomfortable out there. So being able to get back in the groove fairly quickly was exciting for her. Happy to see her get those minutes. And then, as you mentioned, with some of the other players, Ramani Parker getting in for a couple minutes, Marissa Russell getting in for a couple minutes, Sydney Shetton even making an appearance for a couple minutes. It's nice, and let those players get that feel of stepping on the court for an NCAA tournament game.
Okay, so we had talked on this and touched on it just earlier, but the Cards scored 37 points off turnovers, Albany 9. The Cards forced 26 turnovers and only made 10 of their own. That's some pretty heads-up basketball right there, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the game, and it's kind of a wonder that Louisville didn't score more points. And they made more than 50% of their shots, and they only turned the ball over 10 times. So it's like, wait, where did the other possessions go? And it was just, I think when you look at that and the number of possessions that Louisville had, the number of shots they took, it was kind of an oddly paced game. Obviously, that 3-minute stretch at the end of the first quarter where they just kind of decided to not play basketball for a little bit didn't help their scoring pace at all. But yeah, only turning the ball over 10 times against the 16 seed, whatever. But Albany won their conference. They average 16 turnovers forced per game. And Louisville has not been particularly great at taking care of the ball this season, regardless of who they've played. So it's good to see that they were able to keep a pretty good handle on the ball. And if you look back at that stat sheet, we mentioned that Cardinal hasn't seen the floor in a long time. She's the only player for Louisville that had more than one turnover. So, she had 3 and the rest of the team spaced out 1 apiece over 7 players. So it's not ideal for her, but pretty good for the team to really take pretty good care of the ball.
Well, not all of those just as a team, not all 10 of those were forced by Albany. Albany, as much as just Louisville trying to push the tempo and kind of push the pace with a little transition offense. And you saw just a little miscommunication a couple times, maybe getting a little ahead of themselves in that transition mode and overthrowing a player or underthrowing it and it getting intercepted.
Sure. But the turnovers forced stat doesn't care how the turnover happened, just that it happened.
That's true.
One of the things that I really enjoy in tournament venues like this is the teams that when they bring in their pep bands, and there were some certainly very good ones in their last night playing, but I was kind of disappointed because Jeff being a fellow mascot aficionado like I am, we only had a Bulldog and a Cardinal last night. The Nebraska Corn Husker did not make an appearance, and we did not see a Great Dane anywhere on the floor.
Yeah, it's a shame. I'm a dog lover. I love to see mascots of dogs and just dogs in general, and Great Danes particularly. But I think they're wonderful dogs. So it's a little shame to not see them, but I get it. I mean, they're spirit teams. They had their band there, and they sounded good. They were great. But then, like 4 cheerleaders and 4 dance team members, it was a little limited. So
yeah,
yeah, I know it's a little challenging with some of the schools that are smaller don't have the resources to be able to get large numbers here.
Fortunately, we didn't have to have the terror that is Low Red in our.
Is that the cowboy with the guns on his side?
No, that's Herbie Husker. No, Low Red is the inflatable Frisch's character that wears the overalls.
Yeah.
He's a horrible sight to behold.
It may have been the only thing that could have saved Nebraska last night, is stunning the Gonzaga players into looking at the mascot and saying, "What in the world is that?" But certainly the Cards, for their efforts, have moved on to the second round and will face the Gonzaga Bulldogs, who kind of surprising to me, and I might add a lot of people in our bracket, Jared, decided that they thought that Nebraska was going to win this game. Gonzaga said, no, I don't think so. Watch what we can do. And certainly kind of pulled away in the second half from a Nebraska team where I was sitting with Sonia at the game. We were almost right behind the Nebraska bench, and I will give their head coach, Amy Williams, a lot of credit. She's very colorful in her use of adjectives and adverbs in describing action, none of which I am able to repeat here, I guess, but she was certainly coaching her heart out trying to get this team Jared back into the game, but Gonzaga was just too hot, too much on fire.
Well, you could repeat those on here. We would just have to mark the podcast as explicit, as we've learned a couple weeks ago. Trial by error on that one. But no, I think personally, just
a lot of
looking
words
up at
that rhyme with truck and a lot of words that rhyme with fit. Okay, go ahead.
Just looking at and doing some research on some of these teams, I think Gonzaga may have been a little bit underseeded and underrated. This year is just kind of what they had accomplished and just a really well-rounded team from what I had been able to see. So I think for Nebraska, it was just kind of an unfortunate matchup, and you'll see those sometimes. I think Virginia Tech was in the same boat with their 5-12 with Florida Gulf Coast, and sometimes you just get into that unfortunate matchup where somebody's just kind of got a leg up on you, and most of the other teams in your region, you feel like you could beat pretty easily. So unfortunately for Nebraska, Gonzaga just came out and was ready to rock and roll and advanced to the round of 32.
Cards had 4 in double figures in the contest. Haley Lith leading the way with 20 points, and only one of those was a 3-pointer, as Haley was 8 for 15 from the floor, hit off 3 of her free throws, and was really just burning up and down the court with a couple breakaway layups where she basically outran Albany and was putting the ball in for layups. In addition to her effort, we had Emily Engstler, 17 points. Emily went 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Good job there for Emily. Kiana Smith was hot early, very hot early. Hit 3 out of her 6 3-pointers for 15 points. And then Olivia Cochran, when you look at the stat line, it's not all that bad. 4 for 4 from the floor, but then only 2 for 6 from the free throw line and only 4 rebounds. So she only saw 14 minutes, too, as actually Liz Dixon saw more time in the post than Emily did. Liz played a really good game, but only came up 5 points, but had 4 rebounds. So when you take a look at it all and just kind of mesh it all together here, Jeff, it was a great combination of players that Walsh used, and everybody, I think, contributed pretty well to this win.
Yeah, it was. It was, we got a lot of playing time out of a lot of players, and that's always great to see. It's good when you get a team that's maybe not quite as competitive. You get more playing time, gets everybody experience. So always in the positive column for that. And it's a little bit of a confidence builder. Not that this team needed too much of that, but it's always nice to have a good, easy game to start into it, particularly after almost 2 weeks off that they had. So
and that was one of the things that worried me a little bit too, is the 2-week kind of hiatus there. But the Cards came back and showed no rust whatsoever. But Case, listen to this: Mikasa Robinson played 21 minutes. How many points did she have?
That'd be a 0.
Yeah. Which we don't expect her to be a leading scorer or anything like that. But she only took 1 shot. So I guess the concentration there for Casa was the defense and going to the boards, huh?
Yeah, and she does a good job of that. She finished with 2 assists as well. Like you mentioned, 4 rebounds, only took the 1 shot. It has been something we've talked about a lot. She's a defensive specialist. But there have been times, even this season, where her lack of will to take a shot, or I don't know if it's lack of desire to improve the offensive game and just drive that defensive engine, or what. But I mean, it's bitten Louisville recently. You think back to the UNC game where the ball fell to her right under the basket for a last chance, and I don't think that many of us had hoped that she was going to score the game winner. It's not to take anything away from her. Like we've mentioned, she is a defensive driver and makes a lot of things happen for Louisville on that end of the floor. But I just don't see how, as you move forward in the tournament, you can afford to give 21 minutes away to a stat line like that.
Yeah. So let's hopefully the offense will be a little more proficient for her against the Zags. One of the things that Jared and I attended the post-game press conference, and one of the things that Jeff Walsh kind of said in his opening remarks is that we wanted to come out and create chaos early to not let them get into their game, because when they play by their game plan, they're very, very good. I think the chaos in the first quarter, there was pretty much on Louisville's end as well as it was Albany's, Jared, with only 19 points.
Yeah, and I think one of the big keys to being disruptive on defense and getting into the other team and just messing them up is not having the petty fouls called on you. And looking at the box score, there was a combined 23 fouls. So not having ACC women's basketball regular season officials was enjoyable last night. But yeah, I think both teams, maybe some first game of the tournament jitters were involved in there. Some just you see that a lot with that opening round, is teams trying to just get their feet set underneath them on that opening quarter was part of what contributed to that. But yeah, I mean, both teams came out with a game plan, and both teams, their game plan was to be disruptive on defense, and I thought it was well executed by both there early on. And I think it just came down to, as the game progressed, just the talent and skill level for Louisville was just better than Albany. And then by the time you get to, Albany, excuse me, and by the time you get to the kind of third, fourth quarter, the conditioning of Louisville's team is going to beat out anybody in the country.
I would have to agree with that 100%. It was an occasion also, Jeff, where head coach Jeff Walls was celebrating a little bit as well, because he got extended a contract extension, a revised contract, which will include him all the way through the 28-29 season. Also has got a codicil in there saying that if Walls decides he no longer wants to coach, he can revert to go to a administrative role. I found that one very interesting. I have a hard time seeing Jeff Walls as an administrator, but I think you had a little different take on that.
Yeah, I think he could. I think he'd be a great marketer. We talked about that a little bit. So he's always willing to get out in front of people, talk to people, and comes from a very honest and effective point of view of saying, "Hey, here's what it is. Here's how it is," and he's done a really good job with that. So I could see that. But yeah, it was it's good extension. He said in the past that his plan is either to retire here or be fired here, and it's increasingly. It has already been overwhelmingly so, but even more so, increasingly looking like the former of retiring here at some point. So that's great. It's interesting. Glad to have him. I see no problems with that. As part of it, really just an overall great day for Cardinal athletics overall. So couple of combine that with Kenny Payne being hired as the men's basketball coach being announced is kind of a nice 1-2 punch in the morning, and then every Cardinal team that played yesterday won, and then it was just a great day.
And your favorite sport, a pro debut for a certain player.
Yeah. We're kind of going farther afield here. Yeah, Tori Delfer made her debut in the second game for her team this week in Athletes Unlimited Pro Volleyball League. So if you're not familiar with Athletes Unlimited, there's a draft every week for the players in the league. So she'll be on a different team next week, but she didn't play their other game in the week, but she played last night. Got a nice set to Karsta Lowe, and it's good start for her.
Walls was very complimentary in his comments about the extension, thanking the interim president, Lori Stewart Gonzalez, also complimenting the interim athletic director, Josh, giving praise to Amy Calabrese, and also the UofL athletic board for, as he put it, recognizing the success we've had here with women's basketball and extending my contract out. Coach Walsh will be one of the first to tell you that the success that he's had here has been not so much attributed to him, but he will give the staff credit. The amazing young women who have represented, you know, their families, their homes, their brand with the university, playing here all those years. It's the players, I think. Walsh will tell you right off the bat that has made it a perennial elite women's basketball program here at UofL, guys. And I can't really argue any of that case.
Sorry, I was slightly distracted on that one. I think yes, if I understood correctly, that it is the fans and all of the media, the administrators, the staff, everybody that's associated with this program that has made Louisville basketball what it is, and it's not just Jeff Walls, though he has been quite the driving factor. It's one of those things where Louisville over the years has had a lot of coaches and administrators who were in the exact right place at the exact right time to make an impact in their sport. Tom Jurich put Louisville in a position where they were in the exact right place at the right time to strike with, the construction of what is now Cardinal Stadium and the construction of Jim Patterson and the construction of all of the other facilities, specifically like Lynn Stadium, right when the soccer boom was growing in the city of Louisville.
That was really good timing.
Right. And then like Jeff Walls being this kind of bastion of consistency for Louisville women's basketball at a time when, for better or worse, Louisville men's basketball kind of had some ups. They had a really good, I think what was great for Louisville women's basketball's timing is that they had, the year of the Cardinal, where Louisville football goes to the Sugar Bowl, Louisville men's basketball wins the championship, Louisville women's basketball makes that run to the Final Four, beats Baylor, and everyone is riding on a high. And then you've got some stumbles from football and men's basketball in that time, and then women's basketball has just been sitting right there, holding on to that position and staying the consistent driving force in Louisville athletics in that time. And Walls can give all the credit to all the fans and all the media and everything that he wants, but he has a huge role in that.
If we were Jared to take a look at the Jeff Walls resume here, maybe he's applying for the administrative job we mentioned. I don't know, but some of the things that he could put on there, which are absolutely incredible. A record of 410 and 112 here at Louisville. He averaged 27.3 wins a season. He's taken the team to the NCAA Sweet 16 10 times out of his 15 years, 6 trips to the Elite Eight, and also he has compiled a 33 and 12 record in NCAA tournament games. I mean, it's just amazing stuff that he's done so far.
Yeah, I think that record went up to 34 official last night. I don't think they've updated
Yeah,
that
I think
yet,
it did. Yeah.
which is great. And as you mentioned, I mean, that's an incredible resume from no matter what standpoint you want to look at. And he's coached all these ACC players of the year and all these incredible players that have gone on to play professionally either in the WNBA or do some work overseas. And we still see a lot of them out there somewhere right now. And I don't think it's when he talks about the success of him coaching and developing these players, he's not going to say, "Oh, I got these girls to the pros." He's going to say, "I helped develop these ladies into young women who are successful in whatever path of life that's taken them on." And he's going to be a lot more proud of that than anything else, because he truly cares about all his players and his staff, and he goes out of his way to make sure everyone is well taken care of, and he does what he can to provide them the resources they need. And when you're looking for somebody, especially in an administrator role, that's someone you want to have, just because they're going to go out of their way and take that extra step and do everything they can to build up everybody around them. And so I think he'd make a great administrator if he chose to go that route. It's just where he's at in his career right now, I don't see him ready to go to an administrator role for quite some time.
It's not the kind of guy I see behind a desk from 9 to 5 days a week. I'm sorry. He would go absolutely bonkers. But Walsh was also very, very, paid a lot of homage to Paul Sandiford, who was his, Walsh was an assistant under him at Western Kentucky. He actually started Jeff out as a volunteer assistant, then promoted him to an assistant. And then when Paul Sandiford decided he was going to go to Nebraska, he asked Jeff Walsh to go along with him.
Yeah.
And then Walsh did some very good things there. And then Walsh also talked about what he learned from Paul Satterfield. He said, I learned how
Sandiford.
Sandiford. I'm sorry. I'm kind of, whatever. Yeah. Big Paul, is what we all like to call him. Big Paul. He said, I learned how to watch basketball through different eyes by talking with Paul Sandiford. I'd watched games all my life in one way. He said, but Paul sat me down. We reviewed film. We looked at it. And I started seeing things that I'd never thought that I would consider about how a game changes, what turns a game around. He said, and Paul taught me how to do that. And also now that Paul's in the Basketball Hall of Fame, certainly a great move there. But let's talk about the tree that Jeff Walsh has.
Yeah.
What tree would you say that is?
Holy cow, it's huge.
It's his coaching tree. No, it doesn't shed leaves. It sheds assistants and the head coaching jobs everywhere. The one that happened most recently, I'm sure most of our listeners and fans and such would know this, is that Sam Purcell is the newest one to get a nod headed to Mississippi State. We heard that announcement. And the fan reaction to this, guys, has been incredible. They hate to see Sam go, but they wish him all the best down at MSU. And that speaks volumes for the kind of guy that Sam is, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. To a person, everyone I've heard comment on it is like, God, we're going to miss this guy. He's been, in addition to being quite a basketball mind and recruiter and so many other things, he has so much energy, so much enthusiasm, which is, that's pretty much an understatement when you're describing Sam. But he's become a real treasure of the program, and everybody loves him. But you have to look at this and you have to say, okay, he's been on the sidelines with us for 10 years now. It's time for him to step up and take on a major program as a head coach and move into that head coaching role. And I think everybody expects him to be successful at it. And I am quite confident that everyone in Starkville is going to absolutely fall in love with him and his family. Oh my God, they're all adorable, right? His daughters and him with their TikToks that they do and all that. They're going to love him. They're going to have a ball. And, you can't fault someone for that. They're progressing their career. They're moving onward. They're moving upward. I suspect we'll see Mississippi State on their schedule a little more in the coming years. So
Jeff Walsh pointed out, he said, that's up to Sam to call me and schedule that. I'm not gonna call him.
Oh, Sam, you keep that phone on the hook.
He knows our system too well. Yeah.
Well, and just I don't want to play Mississippi State in anything ever.
People
were very quick to say on Twitter that they were going to be Mississippi State fans now, and I'm like, you all have too short of memories for me.
Sure
I will not be rooting for them.
Walsh has probably got Purcell's number, speed dial on his cell phone and everything. He sees it ring. He's going to pick up, go, Bellarmine University, may I help you? Purcell's like, I'm sorry, I was trying to reach Jeff Walsh.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, would you like to play Bellarmine? Not us, but Bellarmine. It should be interesting. And I remember, actually, I interviewed Sam when he first got here, about a week after he had accepted the position. And one of the things I noticed in looking through his biography, guys, is he was from Dalton, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Now, when you think of Dalton, Georgia, maybe it's just me, the old man here, but it is the carpet capital of the world.
It's going to say carpets, man. That's where lots of carpet factories there.
And so I asked him, can you get me a pretty good deal and some, a plush maybe for my living room? He says, I'm your guy. I'll hook you up. All you got to do is just tell me how much you want, and I'll shop the prices for you. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's selling me on something totally irrelevant. Imagine what he does in a parent's living room talking to players. Jared, we've had some great memories with Sam over the years, and I'm going to miss him a lot, buddy.
Yeah, just the charisma that he brings to the table and his recruiting skills. I mean, just from what I see on social media, we don't even see what happens kind of behind the closed doors, but what he does on social media in terms of the recruiting trail is phenomenal. And he's been a big part of UofL's success in bringing in some of these top tier players over time. And I'm kind of bitter he's probably going to steal some future UofL commits at some point down to Mississippi State, but also as thrilled as I can be for him, because this is something I think we all saw for a long time coming, that eventually he was going to be named a head coach somewhere, and to immediately jump into a Power 5 program, it's pretty awesome for him. I'm really excited for him and his family, and I'm sure at some point in the next few years after he's kind of established himself down there, we're going to see a nice Louisville Mississippi State matchup, maybe preferably at the KFCM Center, so we can get Purcell back in the building and also have a little home court advantage to help us out against Mississippi State. It's because, as Case mentioned, do not have a short enough memory.
The only thing that would sour me towards Sam is if he did decided to hire Tierra McCowan as an assistant coach. Then I would have to shoot him a rather terse email.
Yeah.
But and another guy that we don't talk about a whole lot, but somebody who works hand in hand with Sam Purcell on so many things with video and other things is Lamont Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Lamont Russell been with the Cards as a kind of a video operator for I don't know how many years, guys. It seems like forever.
Yeah.
And I asked Lamont last night. I said, so with Sam going to Mississippi, you want to comment anything one way or another on you maybe uprooting, maybe going down there, and because there's no secret that Lamont would love to be an assistant coach somewhere.
Sure.
And he just kind of smiled and looked at me. He said, I'm going to miss Sam maybe for just a while, maybe permanently. I don't know yet. In order to accept an offer, you have to receive it first.
Right. Yeah. It possibly he goes to Mississippi State, but also with Sam going down to Mississippi State, that means we have an opening.
I was thinking the same thing.
Right. And Lamont has been a phenomenal contributor to this program in his role. And not just in his role, but beyond his role. He has done things beyond that. I think we've all seen that, including, being something of a injured player carrier back with Asia Durham when that happened. He's, by everything I've seen, I've never had the opportunity to speak with him individually, but by everything I've seen, he's a stand-up guy, and seems to have a pretty good, I know it sounds like his intramural team's pretty good too. So I'd love to see him kind of move upwards along that bench a little bit towards the center court a little more.
He's an excellent guy breaking down film and scouting out our opponents, because he runs the scout team a lot in practices as well, and being able to prepare them. But if you're looking for another guy who can step in, guy or gal, to step in at the assistant coach and just be able to break down our opponents and be like, okay, here's what we need to do to game plan and get ready for Sunday's game, Thursday's game, etc. I mean, he's going to be excellent at that.
Mm-hmm.
Case, I think Jeff Walsh will have to be at his administrative duties best to handle the amount of resumes he's going to get for that opening.
No doubt.
One of the things that also kind of struck me is a conversation I had with Courtney Walton a couple years ago down at the ACC tournament in Greensboro. She goes, one of these days there's going to be a job open at Louisville in the coaching staff. I know there will. She goes, and my resume will be the first on Jeff Walsh's desk. She desperately wants to come back home. Director of Operations for Georgia Tech, working with player personnel down there quite extensively. And Georgia Tech's gotten some pretty decent players in, but, Courtney would be another good fit, I think, for this program.
I'll throw out another name who's doesn't have a huge amount of tenure in their current position, but I think would be a good option as well. Would be Becky Burke out of USC Upstate.
Yeah, I wonder how Becky would deal with actually
Yeah.
being the head of a program to being a. I think they'd probably have to bring her as an associate, but
Maybe not. That's a big step up from USC Upstate. They are a D1 team, right? So they are in D1, but I think she would probably consider that a step up, and obviously has a good relationship with Walls.
I think Jared would be the one to find out on this because Katie, is from South Carolina. She probably her parents don't live too far from upstate. I think you need to send her to campus and talk to Becky and get us a report on that, Jeff.
2 days ago, I could have gone on and sent her on a nice wild goose chase. I actually think they're driving up to Mammoth Cave as we speak. But yeah, I'm gonna have her parents do a little bit of digging since the rest of the fam is still down there in Fort Mill, which is a little bit south of Charlotte, so still that upstate area.
Like I said, I think Becky's only been in USC Upstate for 2, maybe 3 years now, so she hasn't had a huge tenure there. So that might be a little concerning. But
she's turned them around now.
Yeah, she's done amazing things with them. So.
All right, we just talked a couple seconds ago to our bracket czar of the Cardinal Couple NCAA WBB Pick'em, and after one day of action, we go for the state of the contest address from Jared Anderson. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tight race, which we expected after just one game, 32 or 16 games. Sorry. But Kenneth Stark is leading the way right now, Mr. Kenneth Stark Sr. at 14-2. And then hot on his tail is Sonia. So congrats to Sonia. I'm sure she's going to beat out Paul in this one for this bracket. She was I believe, the only bracket to pick Kansas to win yesterday. So
she stayed away from Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech.
And I said, why? It was a wise move on her part.
She said because Louisville will beat both of them. I'm like, oh, that's your reasoning? That's fine.
Fair enough.
Did a lot of teams, but
Yeah.
Yeah, Georgia Tech was
a teams that won yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech ruined a lot of brackets, didn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, as you mentioned, were both killers. Arkansas definitely did a little bit of damage in brackets. I think Florida Gulf Coast. There was only a handful that picked Florida Gulf Coast to win yesterday. I think the Dayton DePaul kind of matchup was another one that a lot of people kind of had invested in, and I was back and forth for a long time myself on DePaul, and at the end, I was looking at Georgia's resume. I trusted him. There's a ton of 12-4 teams, a ton of 11-5 teams. So it's a tight race. There's quite a few 10-6 teams. Only one losing bracket so far, one bracket with a losing record. That's the Chimps 7-9, and they're really hurting when it comes down to the later rounds right now.
They've already called in an audit and an inquiry though in the whole procedure, and this will be tied up in the court system for several years, I think.
Now, looking at a champion was very split among quite a few teams this year. South Carolina being one of the heavy favorites, Louisville being another heavy favorite. Stanford was in the mix. UConn's in the mix. We had a Notre Dame in there. I think we had one pick for Indiana to win it all. So there's a lot of changes we may see as we get down to some of the later rounds in terms of who's able to advance far enough. And you'll see some people will pick more like, I'm picking this team because they're my favorite team. We're going with it. I'm like, okay, it's perfect. I'm not going to question you on that. And other people are a little more logical and realistic on stuff as well. Because if you're one of those who thinks, oh, I'm going to pick Albany to win the whole tournament because I'm a fan of them, it's great to do so. But if you're looking at it from a logical standpoint, probably not the best thing. But it's a tight race. I think today we've got some games that are really going to maybe be disruptive. I think Indiana's game today, there's an upset there. Kentucky's another one. Ooey Pooey seemed like a popular choice as well for some of the games today. So a lot to keep an eye on. I'm excited to see what plays out. And by the end of the day, I'll probably have my bracket in flames outside, ready to throw it in the trash or something. But what's new? Yeah,
Just
I was
save it
one
to
of those.
start the grill on Sunday, buddy. Okay,
Right.
save it
I
to
think I
start the
maybe
grill.
gave the ACC a little too much credit when making my bracket, but some of the things that I personally look for when making my bracket is defense, defensive efficiency. I think as you get further in the tournament, the teams with better defenses are going to be the ones that have a better chance of succeeding. The rebounding battle, teams that lose a lot of rebounding battles aren't going to be ones that progress too far. Free throw shooting is another factor that I kind of look into there as well. I don't really look into a lot of this team beat this team on this day, because in the end anybody can upset anybody on any given day, so I don't really let that weigh heavily on making my choices. Sometimes just looking at matchups in terms of size can be a big thing. If you've got a team that's got nobody taller than like 6'1", 6'2", and they're going up against someone who's got multiple 6'5", 6'6" players on the team, that can make a little impact too. But I think my biggest thing back and forth has always been the defense, and I'm picking up a little more defensive heavy teams.
Everybody's got a system. That's yours.
Now I'm curious to hear yours.
Well, mine was pretty much, I went strong on ACC. I won't kid you. You know, I thought that the ACC would do very well. Obviously, Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech kind of derailed me a little bit there, and certainly I had DePaul going a long way as well, and unfortunately DePaul didn't even get in. So, but yeah, let's give credit to Case. He was 12-4, saving his entry till the very last second to send it in. No, actually, he did it the morning of.
I'm the one with the procrastination special bracket.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, you know, we've come to expect
I
that.
thought mine was at the last second, but it was on Thursday. I mean, it was on Thursday, which was the last second for men's brackets, but women's didn't start until yesterday. So I was surprisingly to myself ahead by a whole day.
Jared also knocking it out at 12-4, and then I'm struggling a little bit, but I'm 11-5. I think my chances are pretty well done, but 11-5 isn't too bad. Jeff at 10-6. His mom is kicking his butt in the bracket already. So good job, Vivian. You know, nice work. Obviously, you need to teach your son a little bit about college basketball. That'll work. And then Daryl 9-7, but Daryl admitted after the second game, I'm tearing my bracket up. This is not worth anything. So that's how your Cardinal couple crew's doing. So good luck to everybody. 16 games in the book, 16 more to go today. We'll know a lot more about it as we wind on through the Cardinal couple WBB Pick'em contest for the NCAA tournament. Just a couple of minutes left here. I'd be kind of remiss if we didn't get into at least a little softball. And so Case had a nice write-up on what the softball team did yesterday, coming from way back to win this one against Georgia Tech. So, Case, the bats were out, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pitcher's duel for the first 3 innings, and then it wasn't, right? The teams combined to leave 4 on base on just 1 hit and 1 error over the first 3 innings, and then Georgia Tech was like, "Oh, hey, we're gonna hit some home runs." So they did. They hit back-to-back home runs to open the 4th inning, and then they hit a triple, and then Holly April was like, "Chardonnay, I think you're done for today." She put in Gabby Holloway, and that didn't make anything much better. And Georgia Tech put up a 6th spot in the 4th. Louisville looked like they were going to try and get some back right out of the gate and didn't. They went to the 5th, and Georgia Tech threatened to score some more, and fortunately didn't. And then Louisville's bats started with a weird spot in the order. You got some help out of the 8 and 9 spots to open the inning. 2 players on base, and then you get a 3-run homer, and then you get somebody on base, and then you get a 2-run homer, and then you get a bunch of people on base. Or no, so that was the end of that inning. Yeah. They held Georgia Tech again, and then everything kind of unraveled for Georgia Tech in a sequence in the bottom of the 6th. They had a walk, 3 errors to score a run and have the bases loaded unearned, and then give up an unearned grand slam is a tough look defensively, and just like that, they went from being ahead to trailing, and Louisville tacked on a couple of more to to ultimately win that game that they trailed 6-0 in the fourth inning to win that game 11-8 without having to bat in the bottom of the seventh. So pretty fantastic from them to the way that they were able to recover and come back on that one.
And if you plan on watching any of these from the outfield berm, I might recommend a hard hat.
Yeah.
Because the Cards, put out 4 yesterday?
4
Jared?
of them, yeah.
And Georgia Tech too.
Yeah,
And
Georgia Tech too. So
I failed to mention that Holly April made 4 pitching changes, including putting Roby back in the game after pulling her for Sam Bowie. Or Boo?
So
Didn't
Boo,
you say it's just
yeah.
Boo?
it's just Boo to you, but we like Bowie better. So I'm going to talk to Sam next time I talk to her and say, well, let's go ahead and let's call you Sam Bowie. Is that okay?
Boo like a ghost.
I'll introduce you to Melvin Turpin and, so yeah, they take at it again today. Jared will be over there taking some photos. I may venture down there. Haven't fully decided yet on what I'm going to do. The lure and temptation of watching college basketball all day on ESPN is certainly strong.
Hey, they do have a TV in the press box.
Yeah, I saw Lori Cordy yesterday down there. She picked up lunch before she went out to softball down at the media room down there at the KFCM Center where we were having our lunch at. Got a chance to talk to her a little bit, and she always great to see Lori. Love her to death, and she's certainly doing a great job. Lori Cordy Harmon, the SID for Louisville softball. Other than that, guys, I guess we could probably talk a little bit. Lacrosse's 2 losses down in the state of North Carolina to North Carolina and Duke, but I'm not really going to go into that a whole lot. As we've talked about many a time here, Scott Teeter's still building that program. He's getting them competitive with the best in the nation in women's college lacrosse. We're not quite there yet, but Teeter's a very tenacious kind of guy. He's not going to give up on it. So best of luck to him on that. And just kind of checking over the clock out here. We're already past the noon hour. What a show we've had. A lot of fun on this. We'll go ahead and roll on into some final thoughts. And so let's go ahead and start out with Case this week. Final thoughts, sir.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw back. Mentioned swimming a little bit earlier. Gabby Albiero finished 6th in the 100-yard butterfly. 3rd fastest time in school history. Like I mentioned in the article, good luck to catching the first 2 fastest times in school history. But a great effort from her. Personal best. 6th place is good enough for an All-American finish, just like we found out last week with Gabrielle Leon. Finishing 6th in the pole vault in the indoor championships. So congratulations to Gabby Albiero.
Indeed. Of course, obviously the daughter of head coach Arthur Albiero. So not his wife. No.
And sister of fellow All-American Nick Albiero.
Nick Albiero, yeah, I was going to say. This Albiero family seems like they might be good at swimming.
They kind of like the
something
chlorinated water, don't they? Yeah, they do. And they're good in it. All right, Jeff, what you got for me?
Yeah, kind of just echo what we were just kind of talking about with softball. If you're going to be out on the berm, watch out. This Louisville team has put 10 softballs on the out beyond the fence, 10 home runs in the past 3 games. This is a fun team to watch, including 2 grand slams in that mix. I think
4 grand slams in the last 3 games.
Yeah, okay.
In the last 3 games.
I knew there'd been a bunch. I knew there were at least 2, but this is a fun team to watch. So definitely, weather's getting nicer in general. Maybe a little iffy today, but if you get a chance, get out to Ulmer and watch. It's a lot of fun.
Indeed, it is always a good time, guaranteed out there. And if you get bored at the game, there's usually a couple animals out there you can go over there and get a little pet and love it in with. So there you go. Jared, what you got for me, pal?
Oh, just about as happy as can be. I got so many sports I'm going and taking pictures at constantly right now, and especially with women's basketball and their successes, and heading out to Ulmer and being present for a big part of this win streak they're on, and heading out to baseball and watching them do well, and getting out to lacrosse and seeing them. I feel like they've got a winning record when I'm in attendance, so maybe I need to start hitting the road with them. But But it's just fun. It keeps me busy, and I really enjoy doing it and getting out and capturing all these moments and getting a chance to meet the players and their parents and just capture a lot of special moments on camera.
Yeah, always a fun time, and Jared always gets some great pictures.
And a new lens.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah. How did the new lens work out? The pictures looked pretty decent.
yeah. So those that you saw that were more like zoomed in, probably like waist up, shoulder up, or shooting across court, that was with a bigger lens, and then turn the crop sensor on the camera body itself to give me a 1.5 zoom rate there. And in terms of f-stop and lighting and exposure, it's working a lot better, especially for low light situations such as indoors or night games. And uh, just putting a lot of money into camera equipment
Yeah.
when I probably should be saving up for a wedding. But well, Katie gives me a little relaxation here and there on terms of, oh, go spend some money on a camera or on a lens if you need to.
There you go. A good sign indeed for future years with you all. Go ahead and do that, Jared. Not, but I want. No, not that way. Good stuff. As for me, hey, I just want to kind of refer back to some of the fun yesterday in the KFCM Center, and something that I thought was a real class act was that our governor, Andy Bashir, decided to drop by and visit with the Louisville women's basketball team. Obviously, he was down there for the Kenny Payne announcement and some other things going on, but made a special point, posing for a group photo with the Cards women's basketball squad, talking to several of them individually and stuff like that. And say what you will about Andy Brashear, whether you like him, whether you don't like him or not, but he is big enough and broad-minded to realize that there's a pretty damn good university here in this city, and they do pretty good at sports. And he isn't holed up in a bunker somewhere commiserating with his fellow UK fans. He's he's nice enough to get out and even just talking with him in the past and talking with Jerry Abramson about him. Andy is a guy who really does love this city quite a bit and certainly wants us to do well, not only in sports but also in other endeavors. So very good. I hope that you weren't intimidated when you tried to talk to Norika Kono, Governor Bashir, and she asked you if you were from Wichita or not. So there you go. We'll do it for us for another exciting broadcast here of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. We'll join you. Probably, I don't know who will all be in next week, but we'll join you next week at 11 a.m. Unless you know something we don't. Until then, on behalf of the crew and me, go Cards, and thanks for listening.